Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trucking Tower podcast and this segment of Venture Capital Expert Insights. I'm very excited to be joined today by Shaili Gupta. How are you doing today, Shaili?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Andy.
You know, I really appreciate you coming on with me. You've got an awesome background. So engineering, IT, investing, CEO, consulting work, just a wide range of background and leadership positions. So I was really looking forward to interviewing you. So I'm going to go through just some questions here. Yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm going to go through some questions, tips for success, pitfalls to avoid. And just to kick things off, where were you? What happened? Who are you with that inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, you know what? There wasn't a particular moment in time that kind of jumps out, but a series of events. So it started with when I was doing my MBA, there was a local venture firm who was looking for some help and I was looking for money. So I was like, all right, yes, I'm going to apply for this position as a graduate assistant and do an internship. So it started with that. That's when I fell in love with early stage investing and just absolutely loved working with founders and who were creating our future essentially. And in fact, so once I graduated and the firm asked me to join them full time, I did that, loved doing it. Then in fact, I joined one of our portfolio companies as their CEO as they were looking for more strategic direction, kind of worked with them for a bit. And afterwards was looking to do something else as well. So jumped into management consulting. And once I started doing that, I realized my first love is early stage investing and actually meeting founders. So on the side, I would advise early stage founders. And during that time, I realized that what gets me excited in the morning is actually talking to a founder that I was helping or just reading up on what's happening. So I guess that kind of led me to where I am and into venture capital.
Very, very interesting. You know, I'm in this world of technology and venture capital and really appreciate the insights. I've got a lot of friends in the same in technology, entrepreneurship. And so I'm sure our listeners will really enjoy this. So next up, what are the top 2 or 3 mistakes that you've seen that others should avoid in this whole area of entrepreneurship and venture capital?
Sure. So I'll say something that one of my mentors always said, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And I think it's an important learning. And I've seen way too many very smart people, very smart entrepreneurs, let that happen to them. So I think it's important to know that, yes, you need to have a good product, you need to have a good idea, and you need to be good at what you want to achieve, but don't wait too long, get started, do something, and you will get better at it. You will reach your goals, but just get started. So I think that would be the first one. The other one I would say is don't try to do everything yourself. Get a team. It's important to have people who believe in your mission, in what you're trying to do, and whom you can rely on. So delegate. A lot of times, we fall into this trap of trying to do everything. So that would be another thing I would say. Don't try to do everything in one go. Focus, especially in entrepreneurship. I think focus is very, very important, and take one step at a time. And don't lose that focus, because the moment you do that and try to solve every problem, you won't progress. So take one step at a time, be focused, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good, and get a good team who can support you and whom you believe in as well.
Great advice. And I've heard some of that before, try not to do too much too quickly, that there's a thing called the shiny object syndrome where you see,
oh yes,
you see other things that are kind of related somewhat, and you're like, I got to go attack that and make something happen there. But I think that is probably an enemy of progressing, and building as you go.
Honestly, Andy, I've seen that in the consulting world as well, where I'm working with mid to large size organizations, and that shiny object syndrome is everywhere. So you hear about something new and you're like, oh yes, I want to do that. But you don't realize, or you don't even take a moment to figure out, is this right for you? Can you handle it? Do you have the capacity? How can you build towards it? How can you actually extract the most value? So these are certain questions you have to think about and have a good answer to before you jump onto that shiny new thing, which is always attractive, yes.
Right. Yeah, it's a challenge, right? Yeah, to not chase after that shiny new thing every time one comes up. So on the flip side, what are some of the top success secrets you've seen from successful companies, successful entrepreneurs, successful venture capital funding efforts? What are some of the top success secrets?
Very good question. I think the first thing would be a good storyteller. And for you to be a compelling, good storyteller is you need to have conviction in yourself, know what problem you're solving or what are you trying to achieve. You'll notice most successful people are able to articulate what they're trying to do. How will it help others? How will it help if you become engaged with them? So being a compelling storyteller is very, very important, which kind of stems from also being a good communicator, which is important, I think, in both professional and personal life, but communication tied in with storytelling, I would say, is paramount. So that's very important. Second thing, and I think all of us, especially in this pandemic, have realized how things change. At a drop of a hat, you won't even know what hit you. So being adaptable, agile is very important, and successful entrepreneurs, founders, even venture capitalists, you have to be adaptable. See how things are, what your environment and situation is, assess it and adapt when required and when needed, and quickly. That I would say is also key. Adapt quickly.
Right. It seems to move really quickly.
Yes.
Yes. You're moving a mile a minute. Yeah, I mentioned to you, I've got 27 scheduled meetings this week, so it's like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
But it's good as well. So, yeah. Okay. So what are you working on? How can we support you?
So right now, Portfolio X, the venture firm that I'm currently with, we are raising our first fund. And one of our goals is to give access to people who've not traditionally been able to invest into venture capital, to be able to invest in it at a much lower minimum, because usually venture capital investments, they ask for, the minimums are pretty high. So if you are interested in venture capital investing, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to just talk through it and give you a little more insight.
That's an intriguing model. I think a lot of people would love to be involved in venture capital, but they don't have that huge funding, yet. Yeah. And so that's a really neat model. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Another thing, Andy, a lot of people don't have access. So even if you have the money, you don't know how you can get into it. Private investing is tough, and you need to have people in your network. So we're trying to democratize private investing, and that's one of our goals. And I would tell your audience, if you have questions, I'm happy to talk to anyone who has questions and any interest.
I think there will be a lot of interest in that. I'm certainly interested in that. So we'll have to talk some more offline here. Overall, what would you say about your guest experience coming on the show?
I think it's been great. Thank you for being so flexible and also so organized. I think one of the most organized events that I have experienced. So thank you for that. And thank you for what you're doing. I think it's great. It's very, very good.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on with me for sure. And for those people out there that are maybe considering entrepreneurship, considering venture capital, considering becoming involved in venture capital, what would you say as a final word of advice?
I would say talk to people, build your network. Your network is very important. Don't be afraid to ask questions and reach out. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to just talk to you for 15, 20 minutes and answer your questions. So don't be afraid to do that. Very
good advice. I love it. So, well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Trucking Tower Podcast, Venture Capital Expert Insights. Really appreciate you coming on, Shaili. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon.